Boruto to Vortex Chapter 8 is out, and this is actually one of my favorite chapters of Part 2 so far. I don't think it's objectively the best chapter, but it focused on some of the things I wanted to see more of, that mainly being Jura and Hidari, and I thought they were awesome in this chapter. Now the title is called It Doesn't Matter.
It doesn't matter!
And the chapter starts off with Eida watching the scene of Boruto and Mitsuki from the previous chapter, where Eida says, "Stop it! That's like too cool! Oh gosh!" Which I think is a pretty in-character thing for Eida to say, and she's literally done this before with Boruto back in chapter 63 or 64, when Boruto said he was going to protect Kawaki. She was like, "Oh my god, that's so hot!" So, I mean, that's just Eida for you. Now, Kawaki gets mad because Eida isn't looking for Boruto quick enough for him, which makes Delta mad because Kawaki is being moody and giving Eida attitude, and Kawaki's just like, "I don't care how you feel. Go ahead. Be mad." Like, Kawaki's got no chill, bro. It's hilarious. The dude is so moody all the time. I've come to love it. It's funny to me. And then as soon as Eida actually finds Boruto, Kawaki's just like, "He's mine. Let's go, Delta." And just right after he told Delta to be mad, and he's like bossing her around. And then Delta's just like, "Scumbag, I'm heading out, dear Eida. I'll yell at him real good for you, okay?" And then even after that, Eida tells Delta to watch over Kawaki. Like, my goodness, this woman is committed. She puts up with a lot more shit than she realistically should, but I guess that's love for you. Delta goes on to say though, "The moment dear Eida tires of you, I'm gonna kill you." And Kawaki says, "Once I'm done with my goals, I'll go away on my own." Which is like, probably like, I don't know, the 5th time Kawaki has alluded to the fact that once everything is said and done and he kills Boruto, he's either going to kill himself or just allow someone to kill him instead. Whether it's Naruto, Delta, Eida, or whoever. Kawaki doesn't really care. He seems to just want to get rid of the Otsutsuki and then die off along with them, because at the end of the day, he himself is an Otsutsuki, and whether it's guilt or the fact that he's an Otsutsuki, he does seem to plan on dying afterwards. Now, we didn't get some recap about the Claw Grime Divine Tree situation. We already know this stuff. We've heard it like 5 times, so I don't really need to go over it. That being said, Boruto does say that the Ten Tails are using the chakra of the people who have been turned into trees, and that's why they're still alive. But he doesn't know for what purpose they're doing this for yet. Now, obviously, we know the end result of what we've seen. Like, we got a Sasuke Divine Tree, Hidari. We have a Moegi Divine Tree, Matsuri, and so on. But as for the specific purpose of why they're making use of their chakra, Boruto doesn't know. At least that's what he says. Shikamaru, though, does kind of question how much Boruto knows, as he does say, "Boruto, how much do you actually know?" And then you get this panel of Boruto not saying anything, and he looks very serious, which I find really interesting here. To me, this kind of indicates that Boruto knows more than he realistically should. Whether that's because he saw the future, Momoshiki told him a bunch of secrets, or Kashikoji told him some stuff based off of whatever Amado told him, and so on, we don't know, but Boruto definitely knows a lot more than he realistically should compared to everyone else, and I'm personally very curious as to why he knows so much and how he learned all of this information. Was it because of Kashikoji? Was it because of Momoshiki? Was it because of some future vision related thing? I don't know, but I'm very curious as to what it is because it's just interesting. Now, Kawaki then contacts Shikamaru to tell him basically that he's going to try to kill Boruto right now, and Shikamaru tries to talk him out of it by saying Boruto's gotten a lot stronger and should wait for backup, but Kawaki doesn't listen, and Boruto is listening to the conversation and just leaves. So when Kawaki finally gets to that location that Eida pointed out, he doesn't sense Boruto's presence and he finds that suspicious. And then we get this interesting panel of Kawaki looking serious with the ... bubble, and then Shikamaru looking serious. That we've seen this panel like 500 times in part 2, I swear. But I am curious as to whether Kawaki is suspicious of Shikamaru for any reason, or what he's thinking here. I think it would be interesting if he's starting to question some things. It would just be greater tension for the story if Kawaki's on a Shikamaru, for example. I just think that would be a good thing to see. Not fully sure if he is, but I hope he is at the very least. Now we then get a good character moment between Mitsuki and Eida for the next several pages here, where they're talking about basically the sun and moon and love. Ironically, a lot of stuff that comes in this chapter alludes to things I've been working on a video for a while and realistically should have posted like 10 years ago, but it is what it is, I'll get to it eventually. Mitsuki asks if Kawaki was mad for knocking him out, and Eida says, hard to say. He told me to find you, but it was simply to locate Boruto. He flew off as soon as I did. And Mitsuki says, I guess he feels it's a waste of time to berate me. And Damon says, saying that doesn't make you sad? And Mitsuki says, not really. That itself doesn't matter to me. That's what I felt for quite some time now. Eida, up until I met you, I'd never known the emotion of love. And Eida's like, are you hitting on me? That'd be a waste of your time. But Mitsuki is well aware that he knows it's a false emotion that's a result of her ability, but what he's trying to do is thank her, because if it wasn't for her, he may have gone through life without ever experiencing this emotion of love. He then continues to say, I wonder if it's because I'm an artificial person created from scratch. It's not just love. I don't really understand who I even am. And yet I didn't think it mattered, as long as I had a sun who continuously illuminated me. You could even say that most things didn't matter to me, including me myself. But I was wrong, because if I don't bother to give myself affirmation first, I'll lose sight of who my sun is, what the most important thing is, before I'm even aware of it. And I really like this for Mitsuki. For the first time ever, he's thinking about himself first rather than Boruto or whoever first and himself last. In every other situation, it's never about him, he's never cared. But now he realizes that he can never really be truly happy or move forward in life if he's unable to give himself affirmation first. He can never really know who the sun for him is if he doesn't even understand himself to begin with. So I really like this for Mitsuki's character. Now the next part here I'm going to read, I'm pretty sure is a little bit of a mistranslation and not entirely accurate, and I'll explain why after. So Eida says, and Boruto made you realize this, that's great. Mitsuki says, this might be a bit presumptuous of me, but I think we are similar. I don't know why I love Kawaki. And Eida says, but that's what love is. Your chest tightens just thinking about him. It doesn't really matter why it happens. You simply can't comprehend that because my ability caused you to experience false love. Mitsuki says, yeah, you might be right. Now I understand that the Japanese language doesn't have pronouns in the way we do in the English language, which can make it unclear as to whether Mitsuki is talking about Eida loving Kawaki or if he's talking about himself loving Kawaki. But based on the context that came before and after this page, we can pretty easily deduce that Mitsuki is referring to Eida loving Kawaki, because prior to this page, Mitsuki went on to say that Eida is the reason he experienced love for the first time, and he's known Kawaki in his memories for way longer than Eida, and literally in real life, he's known Kawaki way longer than Eida. So it wouldn't really make sense unless he just recently started loving Kawaki, which I highly doubt is the case. If he was to love him to begin with, he would have loved him this whole time, which means he would have already known the feeling of love before meeting Eida. That's not what he was saying. Coinciding with that, Eida went on to say that Mitsuki simply can't comprehend Eida's perspective about her love for Kawaki because her ability caused Mitsuki to experience false love. Again, this would contrast greatly with Mitsuki loving Kawaki and Eida explaining how it feels for Mitsuki to love Kawaki. That in and of itself is just weird to begin with. So realistically speaking, the proper translation here, in English at least, would be, I don't know why you love Kawaki, and Eida would say, but that's what love is. My chest tightens just thinking about him. It doesn't really matter why it happens. They basically just flip-flopped what the pronouns should be in English. Again, the pronouns don't exist in Japanese, so I understand why it's hard, but using context clues, no. Mitsuki is not coming out of the closet saying he loves Kawaki. That just contradicts the pages before and the pages that come after. Moving on though, Mitsuki goes on to say, it's just, I was scared. When I realized that, who I thought of my son may not be so, I then feared losing it. So I stopped thinking about whether or not that son was the real thing. And Eida says, you're saying I'm the same? That I'm a foolish girl who's in love with being in love? And Eida's response makes sense to me because the idea behind this conversation is that Mitsuki was chasing the idea of a son. Kawaki was supposed to be his son, so he felt attached to Kawaki for that reason, even though Kawaki was not being a son at all to him. In Eida's case, she wants to have a romance, but because of Omnipotence manifesting her desires, everyone falsely loves her, which makes it difficult for her to have a true romance like she wants. So the only options she really has are the people who are immune to her ability, which are a very select few people in the population. So in a sense, Kawaki is supposed to be her golden knight in shining bright armor who Eida can have a true romance with, and so Eida has attached herself to the idea of loving Kawaki, when in reality, Eida hasn't actually looked in the mirror and accepted and loved herself, much like Mitsuki never did in the past. She's only focused on Kawaki rather than focusing on herself, so Kawaki has continued to basically berate her and be a bit of an asshole to her, but she doesn't care, much like how Mitsuki felt for pretty much the last 3 years of this time skip, where he viewed Kawaki as his son even though Kawaki was being a dickhead to him, but he didn't care because he hadn't accepted himself and thought to himself, I matter. Eida isn't really doing that either. That's basically the perspective that they're having about this conversation, which I think is really good because there are a lot of parallels between Eida and Mitsuki. Again, I was going to make a video on that before, and I'm still going to make this video, but in a sense, Eida has been chasing after Kawaki like a son, just like Mitsuki was over the time skip. However, Kawaki is obviously not the son for either of them, and it remains to be seen whether Eida is going to have the same realization that Mitsuki did, or if she's going to die on this hill. Maybe not literally die, but you get what I'm saying. It's something to keep an eye on moving forward, and it's something I'm personally just interested in. The reason why it remains a question though is because, again, Eida thinks about what Boruto said to Mitsuki, and she says, I think I want to have a long talk with Boruto. Now, we don't know exactly what she plans to say to Boruto, but I'm also interested in that conversation too, so hopefully it's a cool one. Now, we then start to get into my favorite part of the chapter when Jura starts to take action. He starts to phase through his Ishiki looking cube thing, because it's also a claw mark, by the way, it's a claw mark cube. He just starts to phase through it, kind of like Kamui, and he pops out of a claw grime, which means that the claw grime aren't all dead, nor are they all evolved. Only some of them have evolved into the state they are in now. Some of them are still the regular old claw grime they were before, they're just seemingly not under Code's control anymore, but instead, I guess under Jura's control. Now, Jura and Hidari then enter the Leaf Village while Matsuri and Bug stay behind for some reason. Not really sure why they didn't just go with them, to be honest, because all of their targets are in the village too, but it's just Hidari and Jura. And as they enter the village, the sensory team informs Shikamaru that there are 2 intruders near the gate, checking chakra signatures. One is unknown, the other is a match. It's Sasuke Uchiha. Now, I just made a recent video talking about a lot of the Jura and Hidari stuff from this chapter, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse and repeat everything I said. But what's interesting to note, though, is that Code's chakra seemingly isn't getting noted by the sensory team, even though both Jura and Hidari are covered in Code's claw marks, which contain his chakra. And what's also important, though, is that Jura's chakra was unregistered, which means he's not a Hidari tree version of Sawagi, Kawaki, Aruka, Kakashi, or whoever. He's not just someone who became a tree, turned into Jura, and it's from the Leaf Village. It's not one of those cases because the chakra would have registered. Now, when it comes to Code had entered the village in chapter 68, and when his claw grime entered the village in chapter 102 Blue Vortex, it registered as unknown. However, Shikamaru and everyone else assumed it was Code making an invasion on the Leaf Village, and then when Code actually showed up, there was no message from the sensory team saying, hey, a new chakra appeared, data matches, it's Code's chakra. However, when Boruto showed up, they did exactly that, which implies that either Code's chakra was just as unregistered as the claw grime, or that claw grime was registering as Code's unregistered chakra, because at the end of the day, they are covered in his claw marks, which contain Code's chakra. My point in saying this is that Code had been in the Leaf Village before, yet he still seems to be unregistered in the village's sensory system. So just because you've walked into the Leaf Village once before doesn't mean you're registered. That means that Jigen and Ishiki, for example, probably don't have chakra registered in the Leaf Village. Kinshiki and Arashiki probably don't have chakra registered in the Leaf Village, and so on. We don't know exactly what the system is and how they actually register someone's chakra, but it probably takes more than just walking in there for the first time. They probably have to like scan you or do some nonsense with ninja tech. I don't know what the system is, but my point is that whether Jura has Coach chakra, the Ten Tails' chakra, Ishiki's chakra, Jigen chakra, or whoever, it wouldn't be registered anyway. The point is that it's probably not mainly Kawaki's chakra, Sawegi's chakra, Aruka's chakra, or whatever. It's probably primarily someone else who's not from the Leaf Village. Jura then goes on to quickly followize a bunch of Leaf Ninja who try to stop him, and Eida, in case you forgot, reminds us that these guys are Ten Tails and that they're self-aware and that they're enemies of Konoha, even though Boruto literally told Shikamaru this earlier in the chapter. But in case you forgot, here you go again. Now this next scene's pretty funny. Jura says, "Look at this, Hidari, a rare bookshop. How magnificent. This unexpected encounter looks promising." And Hidari says, "So he's here, Uzumaki Naruto." And Jura says, "What amuses me is you asking that with a straight face." And then Kawaki shows up, he throws some rods at Hidari who dodges them, then he comes flying in and kicks Hidari out of the way, although Hidari is pretty much fine. And Kawaki says, "Who are you? Why'd you come to Konoha?" And Jura says, "Do not fight in front of the shop. You'll damage the treasure trove, Kawaki." I love how much Jura loves his books. It's funny, I don't know, he just loves his books, and it's such a goofy personality quirk for someone like Jura, but I love it. I like the little personality quirk about him and his books. Now Jura then wraps Kawaki up with his wood-style spikes, but Kawaki shrinks to escape as Jura kicks through the wood-style thing. Kawaki comes up behind him, but Jura very easily reacts and just destroys Kawaki's ninja tech hand thing with a punch, which surprises Kawaki, and he says, "I won't kill you yet, so be still, Otsutsuki." And then he punches Kawaki and sends him flying into what looks to be the same water tank from the Naruto and Sasuke rooftop fight in part 1. Now, this fight itself is very short and sweet, but I did find a couple things interesting. So this panel of Jura punching Kawaki on page 36 just reminds me a lot of a very similar panel of Ishiki punching Kashi Koji during their fight. And the way Jura just kicked through the wood-style vine thingy just kind of reminds me of Ishiki trying to kick everyone in the face all the time. Sasuke knows that all too well. I also found it kind of funny and weird how Jura's claw mark head thing separates out kind of like hair. I don't I don't know, it's weird because before it looked like it was one piece, but it kind of moves around here and it's a little bit confusing because it's both like hair and a horn at the same time. I'm not really sure what the thing on his head is anymore, but it changes panel to panel. And Kawaki was knocked out cold from that punch at the water tank, by the way. And Jura says, "Hidari, he's here, close by." Hidari says, "Are you sure?" And Hidari says, "He's a Jinchuriki who bears a Biju. As an incarnation of a fellow Biju, I can sense the Biju chakra dwelling inside him." Now this is another thing I focused on in that previous video I mentioned earlier, but Jura makes it sound like he, unlike Hidari and the others, is an incarnation of a Biju, and that's why he's able to sense Biju chakra and people like Naruto, because they have a part of a Biju inside them. He's basically saying, I can sense other Ten Tails. However, Hidari clearly cannot do the same because he's going around asking if Naruto's here, is Naruto there? And oh, how can you tell where Naruto is? He clearly can't sense Naruto or any Biju chakra in the surrounding area. Only Jura can do this. This is just yet another implication that Jura is most likely the main body of the Ten Tails. As I mentioned in that video, I've referenced like 3 times by now. Sora then wonders, who is the person who came into the Leaf Village registering as a match with Sasuke Uchiha's chakra? Because as Boruto told her previously, Sasuke was absorbed by the Ten Tails. So who the heck is this person? So we should hopefully be getting a Hidari and Sarada confrontation pretty soon here, if not in the next chapter. And Sumire is right there alongside Sarada, so she'll get involved in the action as well. We then have Team Inoshika Cho and Himawari running towards the intruders, and Shikadai says, "Listen up, Even if it is Master Sasuke, don't hesitate to strike. He's helping Boruto, which makes him just as much of a traitor. So I guess Shikanai just completely forgot about Himawari's conversation with Team Inoshikacho in chapter 1, where she's talking about how she wants to help Boruto. I guess he just forgot about that when Himawari's literally right there to listen to him. But anyway, Inojin at least seems to care, as he says, "Don't worry, Himawari, I'll protect you." And then Jura shows up, and my man just really wants to leave his hands in his pockets at all times he can, because this panel looks so goofy as he's coming down flying in front of them with his hands still in his pockets. I don't know, bro. I love Jura and Hidari. They're so unintentionally goofy, and I just find it hilarious. I'm really enjoying them so far with these. It's little things like this. The books, the hands in the pockets for no reason. It's just goofy, and I love it. Now, Hidari's just like, which one is he? Uzumaki Naruto. Bro, I'm telling you, I really like this chapter. I don't know if anyone's gonna like it as much as I do, but I found it funny and enjoyable. Now, Jura says, "This is odd. What in the world is going on here?" The obvious implication is that, well, he was sensing Biju chakra to get to this location. That led him to Himawari, not Naruto. The implication is that Himawari most likely has some vestiges of Kurama's chakra deep within her, as her father was the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. So it makes sense if there's some genetics mumbo jumbo going on to have Kurama's chakra integrated into Himawari's natural chakra pool. This would be why she has the whisker marks even though she's not a Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. The same thing happened with Naruto when he was born. Kushina was the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki when she was pregnant and giving birth to Naruto, and Naruto was born with whisker marks, even before he had Kurama. So both Himawari and Naruto had Kurama's power integrated into their own natural genetic chakra pool. In a sense, Naruto just was gifted by being the son of a Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. It likely played a role in Naruto having such ridiculously insanely massive chakra reserves as a kid, even in base, before Kurama's seal even started to weaken to begin with during the Haku fight, beyond the fact that both of his parents also have large chakra reserves. But in Naruto's case, he seemed to have way more than even Minato and Kushina did combined, it feels like. He was making thousands of shadow clones before he was even getting when he fought Mitsuki. And even adult Sasuke is just like, Boruto, bro. Kid Naruto is making thousands of shadow clones. You're over here making 3. Naruto just had ridiculously massive chakra reserves, and Kurama mumbo jumbo genetic stuff likely could have influenced that beyond what he would have already had from his parents anyway. The same could apply to Himawari here. We know that Boruto, although he does have the whisker marks, doesn't have particularly large chakra reserves outside of Karma Seal help. Like, this was made abundantly clear in the anime that Boruto does not have anywhere near the chakra reserves of someone like Naruto. However, he is incredibly skilled, and we know from the anime that he's got Jogan genetic mumbo jumbo stuff going on. With Himawari, we know that she's special, as Damon did hype her up back in chapter 77, but we haven't seen exactly what about her is special. We know she has that crazy lock-on mode where she gets really strong, but even that isn't really explained. It is entirely possible that Kurama's power is influencing some of her powers. Now, I don't think that just a little bit of Kurama chakra is what was making Damon hype her up so much back in part 1. Realistically speaking, Kurama's power is probably just in addition to something else going on here. Maybe it just feels it amplifies it. Maybe she's got some Kaguya genetic influence that's related to her Byakugan, on top of Kurama's stuff influencing the Byakugan's power to give her some new special lock-on mode that makes her really strong. We don't know what it is, but I'm very interested in seeing exactly what they do with this moving forward. But I have no problems with Himawari having some level of Kurama's power. It just makes sense. She's literally got the whisker marks, just like Naruto, and just like freaking Kinkaku and Ginkaku, okay? I don't think it's unreasonable at all. And I'm very excited to see what the heck's gonna happen in the next chapter, because right now Himawari is not in a good position because Kawaki's knocked out. Team Inoshikacho definitely does not stand a chance against Jura and Hidari, nor does Sarada and Samurai, because Jura just fondled Karma Kawaki, and I'm pretty sure Sarada and Samurai can't do that. Plus, when you add Hidari into the mix, that's not gonna help anything. realistically speaking, Boruto's either gonna have to come back, or Damon's finally gonna have to fight here in part 2, because none of these characters are gonna stand a chance. Sage Mode Mitsuki might be able to stand up to someone like Hidari, but he's definitely not gonna be able to stand a chance to Jura, who just very quickly fondled Kurama Kawaki. And Hidari and Mitsuki is not a fight that's remotely being set up right now. So I think either Boruto's gonna have to return, which will be interesting, or Damon's gonna have to fight, which I think would be really cool because Boruto's fought several fights back to back to back to back. So I would actually probably prefer to see Damon get some action now, and seeing Damon versus Jura could be one of the most hype fights we get, depending on exactly how strong both of these characters are. But I want to hear what you guys think. What do you think is going to happen in the next chapter? Will Boruto return to help everyone out? Will Damon finally step up and get some action? Will Himawari level up and reveal some brand new power we've never seen before that actually helps her stand a chance against these Divine Tree guys? Or is Jura just gonna body everyone? What do you think about that? What do you think about Jura's identity so far? Like I said, you should probably watch that out of the video too, just to get some reference, but I am 100% sold on Jura being the main body of the Ten Tails, and as for whether or not he's related to Kawaki, Jigen, or Ishiki in some other way, I'm going to make future videos on that, but I think he's either just the main body of the Ten Tails, or he's both related to the main body of the Ten Tails and Ishiki or Jigen, based off of some Ten Tails theories I'm going to get into in the future. And as far as Mitsuki and Eida goes, how did you guys feel about that conversation? I personally enjoyed it for both of their characters. I like the sun and moon concept, something I want to keep talking about moving forward, and I hope they keep showing it symbolically in the story between Eida, Mitsuki, Kawaki, Boruto, and Sarada and Sumire. I think it's really cool stuff, and it's good for both of their characters. It's a nice little parallel there. And you guys agree with me that Mitsuki saying "I love Kawaki" was probably just a mistranslation, and realistically he was saying "I don't know why you love Kawaki," and Eida was explaining how she feels about Kawaki rather than the other way around. Let me know in the comment section below, but that's a wrap on today's video, so thank you guys for watching until the end.
You're already under my genjutsu.
Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, like the video, check out my podcast channel, check out Peak Fiction, become a member, and hit the bell icon for notifications.
Sorry, Sasuke. Maybe some other time.
Have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.